Welcome back, one and all, to Cleats First, Logic Second. Today, we are here to preview the Champions League final between Chelsea and Manchester City. And joining us once again is our good friend Alex, better known in the YouTube verse as Alxton. Who better than a Chelsea fan himself to come chat about this final? Alex, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on here, and hopefully, if I'm talking about Chelsea, hopefully it's not gonna bite back and be a bad thing. Usually that happens sometimes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. An all-English final, one of the few times that this actually happens. I think the third time in history. We know the last time we saw it was in 2019 between Liverpool and Tottenham. Big matchup. Chelsea, in their last two appearances, were able to steal 2 wins from Manchester City. Can they get it done a third time, or will the third time be the charm for Manchester City? We'll have to find out.
I think Chelsea and Manchester City have both had pretty great seasons. Stand out, obviously, Manchester City. I mean, they are literally the foundations of what all great teams want to build on. They've been dominant the last few years now, especially with Pep Guardiola. And Chelsea have been, doing Chelsea things, switching their managers left and right, buying players. That's what we do. We still end up winning trophies. That's the biggest thing. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens.
Let's look at the two competitors. And why don't we start with Manchester City, the reigning, or the newly crowned, I should say, Premier League champions. This is their first Champions League final. That's something that you can say Chelsea does handily have over Manchester City, is that wealth of experience and the Champions Leagues to their name. Credit where credit's due. But if we look at their trip to the final, Group C winners, round of 16, making quick work of Borussia Mönchengladbach. In the quarters, a 4-2 aggregate win over Borussia Dortmund. And in the semis, in what was really a big rough and tough ground and pound matchup, overcoming PSG, who were big favorites to win the tournament, other than City and other than Bayern, who PSG were able to overcome in the quarters. Manchester City were able to come out on top 4-1. Big performances and big statements made by Manchester City on their way to this final, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly think that the game against PSG was where they showed that they can and go on to win the final of the Champions League. I mean, obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan, but I got to give credit to Manchester City. Chelsea are looking at Manchester City to compete with them, right? And that just says a lot about Pep Guardiola. Yes, this is their first time being in the Champions League final, but it's not the first time for Pep Guardiola, and he's a proven in and out winner. I mean, he wins at the top level. And look what he's done with Manchester City for the past few years. They are the dominant team in England and in Europe at the moment. So, for them to go up against PSG, who have brilliant players, PSG have always come short. And I think it has to do with their big ego players. And I mean, it's not to throw a dig at those players, but for me, what Manchester City showed that PSG didn't show was their quality of being as a team and being composed and still keeping their tactics when things get heated. And that's what you want in any team in a final. They were very, very composed defensively in the midfield. Kevin De Bruyne absolutely just controlling and dominating the game. And then if you look at the top, the strikers doing their job, and Gundogan absolutely being a big time player for them too.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like you said, we'll talk about managers and we'll talk about ambition. But like you said, I think Manchester City is the golden standard when it comes to teams across world football. If you look at that starting 11, but also that bench, the things that they were missing after they won the Premier League last and what they missed last season, a lot of those holes were fixed. Ruben Diaz has been a revelation. Everyone knew how good he was, but for him to adjust like that, but also having a partner in John Stones, who people wrote off coming into this season. He was rumored to go to Arsenal. He was rumored to go out. And even Arsenal fans were saying, nah, he's washed. We don't want to see him. Being able to see that return. Yes, there have been injury issues, and we know how good Nathan Ake is on his day and how good a player like Aymeric Laporte is on his day. But that defensive core has been phenomenal for Manchester City. Things are just clicking great.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be, when you look at it on paper, a tough matchup, and especially with a manager like Pep, who this isn't his first rodeo. He has a couple UCLs to his name. He's really going to be chomping at the bit to get it done with Manchester City. If we look at, well, why don't we just look at notable absences first? You mentioned Ilkay Gundogan earlier. He's had an amazing season. I would make the argument standout of the Premier League, uh, if not most improved, one of the best. Unfortunately, we saw him go down in that second leg against PSG after a rough tackle. Right. He's up in the air, but things are looking pretty promising for him to make his return. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be for the entirety of the match, but there's a chance that we see him return for part of that match. And that would be huge, even just a morale boost having him back.
Definitely. I mean, he's been a player that I didn't expect to have the season that he's had. I mean, a few years back, I thought he was going to be out of the club. He didn't seem like he was making much of a difference on the pitch, but now all of a sudden, they're one of the players that everyone looks to. You know, when he's on the pitch, he's making goals, but he's also scoring goals. And I think I wasn't expecting him to be scoring as many goals as he is. So that's impressive, and it's good to have him back on the pitch if he's available. But hopefully, he won't be as a Chelsea fan.
No, exactly. We'll have to see how that plays out. Kyle Walker is the other one who is up in the air. Again, it's looking promising. In the little bit of time he's been out injured, João Cancelo has moved to his natural position and has been able to shine there. But bringing Walker back into the equation would help to make Cancelo available for the midfield should Gundogan not be available for that matchup. And then seeing Pep move that around, it'd be interesting to see what formation and what personnel he picks to play that final.
Right.
If we look at key players, though, Alex, for Manchester City, Gundogan as their top scorer from the midfield with 17 goals, if fit, will be a huge factor for the Manchester City side. Scoring isn't going to be an issue with players like Raheem Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Gabriel Jesus, and Ferran Torres, who are all major attacking threats, who all have more goals than Chelsea's highest goal scorer in Timo Werner.
All right, yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It is a concern for Chelsea. I think going up front and scoring goals has been a problem for us, honestly, for the last 2 seasons. We haven't had a clinical finisher. Yes, we have Tammy Abraham, but his physicality is not there, and I think we need to find someone who brings that physicality. Timo Werner is a scorer. I mean, we've seen what he's able to do in the Bundesliga. He needs some time to adapt. Yes, he's not scoring as many goals, but he is still putting in the effort, and I think that's what a lot of people oversee at times. He is running up and down the touchline. He's, playing, an important part in either winning a penalty, and that is an important part. I mean, he's causing dangerous plays. He's doing a lot of offside runs, which has been something that he has to work on. But a player like him, I'd love to have on the side, even if he's not scoring, because he is always working hard. Every game I see him, he's just putting in, a shift. So yeah, that's my say on Timo Werner. He'll be scoring goals left and right next season. I'm sure of it.
We'll get a little bit more into that when we look at Chelsea. But we would definitely be discrediting one of the best players in world football if we did not credit Kevin De Bruyne as being a key player for that Manchester City side. He unlocks all of those attackers and brings out the best of everyone on that pitch. 11 assists this season. We know that the majority of the creativity does stem through Kevin De Bruyne. So that's going to be something huge to look at when you look at this matchup.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is one of a kind. I mean, he's over the years has proven that he is one of the, or if not best midfielder in the world.
So, Alex, why don't we jump to their competitors in your club, Chelsea, and let's take a look at what they're bringing to the table. This season, they're currently third in the Premier League. Now, full disclosure, this is being recorded the day before the last match day.
Yeah.
So it's up in the air where they'll land. There's a potential that they miss out on Champions League football. They're pretty much guaranteed Europe, though. Or not pretty much, they are guaranteed Europe at this point.
Yeah.
It's just a question as to if it'll be Champions League or Europa League. But again, if they win the Champions League, we'll see them in Champions League regardless next season. Like we said, historically speaking, this is their third European Cup and Champions League final, last appearing in 2012 when they won the competition, Alex. So, something that they do have over Manchester City, not necessarily over Manchester City's manager, but Manchester City, the club, is that wealth of experience and that winning history when it comes to this competition.
I think if you look at history at Chelsea, we are always striving to be in the final. Our mentality is to win, not just to be in the final. We want to win it all. Under Thomas Tuchel, I think he's made the team very difficult to break down, but also when they have the ball, they can really break down teams, and that's been something that has been a major improvement since Tuchel has stepped in as a manager. When we get our key moments, hopefully players that are up there to score will do the job and get it done.
Exactly. I think what Tuchel has shown in his two matches against Manchester City, both being wins, was that ability to critically look at this and look at the whole match as being a game of chess as opposed to quick fire and trying to outgun, because yes, there's potential on that Chelsea side, but you're not close to the fire. I mean, many clubs aren't remotely close to the firepower that Manchester City has. They're on another level, and you talked about it before. Manchester City is that model to emulate. Now, obviously, not every team has the spending power that Manchester City does, but we won't go too much into this, and this is definitely a conversation for another day that we can look to have. But if we look at the whole Super League fiasco, if you criticize the big six clubs in Europe, Tottenham's Tottenham, so we won't even talk about that. If you look at Manchester United, Liverpool, and Arsenal, with the ownership groups there, yes, Liverpool have done huge, but a lot of that have done big things, but a lot of that success can be accredited to Jurgen Klopp and the way he's been able to work with the assets in hand.
Right.
If you look at the Glazers and the Kroenkes, both teams or both ownership groups will assist here and there while necessary, but it seems like all three of them aren't particularly driven or focused purely on success. Criticize them all you want, but Manchester City and Chelsea too, in those ownership groups, seem like they're driven for success regardless. Like Roman Abramovich at this point will sack a manager. We saw it with Frank, as beloved as he is. He didn't flounder around. And honestly, I think that's a huge reason why Chelsea are in this final, is having the experience of Tuchel. Tuchel's the first manager in history, Alex, to be in back-to-back UCL finals with different clubs. That experience, that drive, and that desire is definitely fueling him with that experience. I mean, Tuchel is a tried and true manager, but he has a lot to prove, and he hasn't won too much to his name.
Yeah. I mean, you right on the spot with that. Yeah, all respect to Frank Lampard. I mean, he was a manager. I will speak briefly on it, but I think he's still a young manager. He was a great player. I mean, a legend of the sport and a player that I've always admired watching, and fantastic in what he did as a player. But as a manager, I think, yeah, when you have a club like Chelsea coming knocking on your door, and you're a legend for the club previously, you really have to just go and accept it. It's a great opportunity. I knew when he took the job that it was going to be challenging. The fact that he was able to bring Chelsea out of the group stage was an impressive accomplishment in itself. That was the first time he was, a manager in the Champions League, going through the group stage, still figuring out his team. So, all to credit to Frank Lampard. But when you look at Thomas Tuchel, I mean, he has been hungry throughout the whole season since he got there. And it's very reminiscent of the year when we won the 2012 Champions League. We sacked our manager, had a pretty tough mid-season. We were in ninth or 10th place. And then we had, an amazing run in the Champions League going on to win it. So it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see what happens.
No, for sure. So why don't we look quickly at that trajectory? Like you said, they too came out of their group, the winners, top of that group. And they really had a challenging and tough road to the final, the round of 16. They made easy work
Yeah.
of the La Liga champions,
Yeah.
the newly crowned Atletico Madrid, 3-0 over the two legs. That alone, based off of Atleti's form this season, you could argue was an upset.
Definitely. I mean, I look at the second leg as it's tough to say. Both legs of that Atletico Madrid game was impressive from Chelsea. Everyone doubted them. Everyone was looking at Atletico Madrid making easy work of Chelsea. And like I said, tactically, Tuchel has given Chelsea uh, more. They're offering more than just making runs and going in there and just moving the ball and going to score. With Lampard, I didn't see any tactical layout. The players kind of just seemed like they were playing just to go and try to win the game. But with Tuchel, it seems like every lineup is placed to beat that team. The fact that they were able to keep a clean sheet against Atletico Madrid was impressive, with Suarez having the season that he's having there. It shows a lot. I think that was one of the most impressive results that Chelsea had. And that gave them the confidence to go on and get the result they got against Porto 2-1 in the quarterfinals, which, all respect to Porto, they are a very difficult, robust, physical team. And they were able to get the job done there too. And I think from there on, the confidence was through the roof.
No, exactly. Like you said, that was definitely a tough matchup. Porto, being the giant killers that they were this season, downing Juventus in the round of 16. Porto were the ones coming. I mean, both of them had a great push of energy. But if anyone, the way that Porto overcame Juventus, it was definitely a tough time to match up against them. But coming out of it, and like you said, that really helped give them the push that they need to overcome another giant in Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid aren't necessarily the Real Madrid that we know them to be, and this season seems to be, more floundering on that end. But over two legs, 3-1 over the giant that is Real Madrid is nothing to scoff at.
Watching that game back, I honestly was scared at moments, because you're speaking about, yes, it's Real Madrid. It may not be the same Real Madrid that has been there winning the Champions League, but when you look at the quality of players, they're there. They're older compared to a younger Chelsea team. I think that uh, extra. It's really hard to say, honestly, because we could have easily gone out in the semis, in my opinion. That second leg, if they had scored first, we would be in some serious pressure. And I am curious to see how Chelsea's going to handle a scenario where they're maybe one goal down. They've been pretty lucky previously, being, scoring first, holding down, maybe scoring a second, and defensively, getting through the game. I want to see how they're able to do that in the final. If Man City were to score first, do they have what it takes to go on, score the goal, and make the comeback?
No, you're right. I think it's going to all be a matter of how Chelsea can come out the gates and then being able to lock it up from there. Because one of the biggest concerns when we look at notable potential absences, both of these players are up in the air and looking promising. But the fear of missing either N'Golo Kante, especially N'Golo Kante, or even on a creative side, Kai Havertz, is definitely not ideal for Chelsea. Like I said,
It's not.
both looking promising, but the fear still has to be there, of especially Conte, and being able to lock down and pocket a player like Kevin De Bruyne, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got nervous when Conte, got off the pitch 30 minutes against Leicester City. I was a little worried about that because I know how important, if anything, he's been the player of the year for Chelsea. I know Mason Mount has received that award, but for me, N'Golo Kante has been the standout player, if not just not in the Premier League, but in the Champions League as well. I mean, what he's able to do in that midfield, no other player in that position is able to match what he does. So, yes, it's looking promising. I hope that he's going to be able to play a full match. Will he play a full match? I don't know. Maybe Thomas Tuchel is going to say, you know what, you'll start the match, and then we'll put in Kovacic, who's been just coming out of injury. And yes, he's been in the shadow now during his injury. He has been playing as many games. But if we look past, the game against Atletico Madrid and Porto, he was absolutely exceptional. He, my opinion, knows how to get the ball, slow the game down if needed, or speed the game up. He's smooth on the ball. He's got an amazing passing ability, and he's someone that, alongside Conte, is a strong midfield. Now I know we have Jorginho too, and Jorginho and Conte really know how to lock down that midfield. So it would be a big, big miss if we don't have him in the final.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that he is going to be one of the two big key players. If you look at other key players, you're definitely going to need whatever combination of strikers we see. Timo Werner, whether he's playing at center forward or playing on the wing, and then whatever combination of Tammy Abrams and Olivier Giroud we see, one of them are going to have to finish because that's where the goal scoring is, and those are who you're expecting to finish those chances off, right? So, like you said, I don't see if Chelsea wins this, I don't see it being a high scoring affair, but that's going to be a key first step. But on top of that, Alex, like you said, N'Golo Kante is going to be huge, as well as the experience of a player like Thiago Silva.
Definitely. Thiago Silva has been, I think, one of our key signings. Yes, he's 36, I believe, around that age. He played under Tuchel. He was at PSG. Yes, he won everything at PSG in the domestic league, but he wants to win this Champions League. And I think that is one of the trophies he wants to have in his cabinet. So he's bringing that experience and that leadership that, for a young Chelsea team, it was a little bit nerve-wracking. We were lacking that, and I think he brings that calmness about it. And let's say if we go 1-0 down, he might be able to be that player that can rally up the team in the halftime and really be able to keep clear mind. Another thing I want to say is Mason Mount has been a standout player for Chelsea last season and especially this season. He's really molding into a complete midfielder and one that can finish. And that is someone I'm relying on to score in this final. I think he's going to be a player to watch. He's going to be a player making a lot of runs, and hopefully, Manchester City don't put too many players on him and lock him down because, if he can get on there, he will finish.
No, for sure. So, Alex, I know your heart might say one thing, your head might say another, but
Yeah.
what is your prediction for this Champions League final?
Look, I have to side with my team. Right? I'm always gonna say that, but I was thinking about this for a while. Is it gonna be a high scoring match, or is it gonna be a very close match until the end? There will be a goal. I think defensively, Chelsea are gonna be pretty much holding on. I think Manchester City is gonna take the game to them. Chelsea, I think we're going to try to feel it out a little bit, and then we're going to bring the game to them. That's the one thing I like about Tuchel. He's not afraid to tell the team to go and match the same level Manchester City is going to put out there. Manchester City is going to go and attack. They're going to go and try to score. They're going to try to do their thing. And I think Chelsea, what they're going to try to do is really make it difficult for Manchester City to play their game. And if we can get into City and make it difficult to play their game, we have an opportunity. So for me, I think it's going to be 2-0 for Chelsea. Now I say this hesitantly because I do think it'll come down to a late goal, 1-0 maybe after the halftime, and then there might be a late goal for Chelsea making it 2-0, or it could be 1-1 going extra time and make it 2-1. But I'm sticking with 2-0 for Chelsea.
You might want to take off your headset for this.
Yeah, no, I'm ready.
Like you said, I think I can see I give Tuchel the benefit of the doubt that he's going to put, he's going to put enough confidence in his players to go out and put in a strong performance. Unfortunately, though, and I've said this all along this season, credit to them because they've done a lot more. And, with Tuchel being able to even bring out the best of a player like Antonio Rudiger, who we know
Yeah.
is so good, but seemed to have been floundering for a couple of years. I would be a bit concerned about that defense, especially with N'Golo Kante isn't there. And I think that this is just a point, like you said, I can see it going one of two ways. Manchester City is going to throw everything at the wall. They just can't get anything, and I think they'll get killed on the counter. And that'll be what does it in for them. But what I more likely see happening is that wall just crumbling, and once it starts, I don't see the Manchester City train stopping. I'm sorry to say this, Alex, but I
Let's
see
hear it. Let's
Manchester
hear it.
City winning the UCL, their very first Champions League, by a scoreline of 3-1.
Wow, that is a big time scoreline. Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's I see where you're coming from with that. There's also Pulisic, who's been a dark horse in the Champions League.
No, exactly.
There's something about him that he knows where to be at the right time, and if he can be there at the right time for Chelsea, we could see some unexpected goals coming from both sides. But 3-1 is a big toss out there. We'll see what happens. I think you could be right, or I could be right. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to tune in, see who comes out of this, the champions of Europe. But Alex, thank you so very much for joining us. Guys, make sure to go check out Alex on YouTube and on social media. His links will be in the description. And thank you guys all for joining us. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and let us know your predictions for this matchup. Don't forget to subscribe. And like always, meat first, soccer second. Have a great one, everybody.